What's up, everyone? Testing the mic. Making sure the mic works. Just testing out this mic, making sure it works. Let's see. There we go. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Today is Monday, May 3rd. And you know what? I had a rough weekend, to say the least. Actually got the vaccine shot on Saturday. Second one. Great. Thank you. Mic works. Great. Always want to check if the mic works, just because you don't want to be rambling and then 5 minutes in, it doesn't. So vaccine shot Saturday, and I was cool during the day, smooth. But once the night hit, I started shivering, man. Started to get a fever. And then yesterday, I was just out. It got me. So this morning, clearly feeling a lot better, but I was worried there for a second. I really was, but it's all good. So today I want to talk about, of course, as you can tell by the title of the video, a draft recap, not only looking at the Niners, but looking at some of the NFC West teams. We'll kind of break that down, give you my thoughts on it. But of course, we have to start with the San Francisco 49ers, who I think had one of the most anticipated drafts, I think, in my lifetime. Like, when's the last time people were just on their heels, didn't know what the Niners were going to do, but they were excited at the same time? It was a weird feeling. And ultimately, I think if you talk to most Niner fans today, we feel pretty good about what the Niners did in the 2021 NFL draft. The first one, of course, is Trey Lance, chosen number 3 overall. And the one thing with this whole situation was people were fearful that Kyle Shanahan wasn't gonna pick one of these mobile quarterbacks, was really stubborn and trying to kind of go with what he knows, Kirk Cousins type of quarterback, like a Mac Jones. That's what people really feared. But when this pick was selected, I think the entire Niner fan base just erupted. They kind of forgot about Mac Jones for a second, forgot about Fields, just forgot about everything and focused and celebrated as if we had just won something. But it kind of felt like that. It feels like this guy, who we haven't drafted a quarterback this high since Alex Smith. And even then, that pick, people were super critical of it because Aaron Rodgers was skipped, right? And so this time in a very long time, I think at quarterback at least, everyone is kind of celebrating it, is on the same page, is happy about it. A lot of it has to do because of the speculation of Mac Jones being the pick. But ultimately, if you just remove that from the equation, I think it's still a solid pick. Trey Lance being a smart individual. Again, the knock is hasn't played a lot of games, but that's something he can't control, really. With the COVID season, can't really put that on him. Still a young man. I mean, he's going to turn 21 sometime this week. So he's not even legally at age to drink. So you couldn't celebrate the right way. But anyways, I'm excited about the pick. I haven't been this excited about drafting a quarterback in a very long time, but I think it's going to be worth it, man. And I can't wait to see Trey Lance training camp, preseason, and during the season if he beats out Jimmy Garoppolo, which a lot of people anticipate. So I think round one was a bank, and this kind of transitions me over to the second round pick in Aaron Banks. Now, in this spot here, I thought the Niners were going to go corner or wide receiver. I was leaning more corner. Some really good corners came off the board. Actually, let me pull that up here. In round 2, a lot of the top corners that kind of fell to the second round got drafted early, man. And here's a breakdown. Jaguars 33 got Tyson Campbell, a really talented corner from Georgia. Eric Stokes, his teammate, went to the Packers in round 1. So tells you a little bit about the Georgia corners, how highly they thought about him. And I thought Tyson Campbell would be the first one out of the two. But Eric Stokes, being Eric Stokes, he got drafted first. High potential, has great speed. But Tyson Campbell, man, he's no scrub either. I would have loved if the Niners, if he would have fell to the Niners, I would have loved them to draft him. But he didn't. So there was another top corner taken off the board early. And then we look at what's the other one? Kelvin Joseph from Kentucky. Now the Cowboys ended up taking him 44th overall. And another guy I was eyeing there at the Niners at, or are they 43 originally? Yeah, 43, because they traded back with the Raiders. So this was really a surprise. I thought that the Niners would select them there. And Kelvin Joseph really went a pick later after they traded back. So it leads me to believe the Niners maybe had one or two guys that got picked early, but they weren't going to take a corner once one of their guys got taken off the board. So they end up trading back and selected guard Aaron Banks. Now, Aaron Banks is he played left guard at Notre Dame, but he's a big fella, man. 6'5", 320 pounds, just a big physical tank that just anchors down these defensive tackles, man. And I'm really excited about the pick. I know that a lot of people were just like, guard, that's kind of a surprise. In my eyes, is just reassuring, a nice, safe pick, and especially for protection for Trey Lance, who, we don't want offensive line to be an excuse of why Trey Lance isn't performing. So again, doubling down at offensive line, I think, is a smart move. You all see these injuries that happen when a rookie quarterback comes in. They don't have protection, kind of like Joe Burrow last year. You don't want that to happen, knock on wood. So you get protection at offensive line. You get reinforcements. And I kind of dig the pick, man. Again, just the anchor, and just athletic too. For being that big, for being that amount of size, he really, at Notre Dame, there was a lot of plays where he's getting pulled on screens. And so he's not just a kind of a cement-footed type of guard that can't move. He really can for his size. So I kind of dig the pick. And the Niners traded back, 5 spots to pick him? So they traded with the Raiders at 43. The Raiders got a good pick, Trevon Moehrig. And then the Niners fell to 48, got Aaron Banks. So, solid pick. I think they went 2 for 2 here. The next pick here, this was third round now. We're looking at the third round. This was one of the most exciting picks in the third round for me. Trey Sermon, running back from Ohio State. Now, I love Sermon. He was a playmaker at Ohio. If you saw any tape from Justin Fields, it was hard not to see Trey Sermon perform. And you're wondering, who's that number 8 kid? And he was making some plays there. And the thing I love most about Trey Sermon, and the common theme about this whole draft for the San Francisco 49ers, were just simply they were getting players who were tough, physical. That was kind of their first trait. And Trey Sermon does not come short with any of that. He's a physical back. I think he's kind of like, think of it as a Tevin Coleman replacement. Tevin Coleman was brought here to try to get that short yardage situation and kind of can be a dual threat running back. At least that's what we thought, in passing and in running. And that's what Trey Sermon brings. He's able to catch off the backfield and able to pick up those tough yards. and just a thumper, man. I really dig this pick, especially because they kind of made one of their again, this theme is they're kind of making one of their strengths a bigger strength, if that makes sense. Like they're really doubling down at some of these positions, running back being one of them, offensive line being another. And so when you think about it, running backs, you had Mostert, Hasty, Jeff Wilson Jr., Juszczyk. Of course, you want to throw the fullback in there in the conversation. But it's like, what's going to be the Niners' identity? It's clear that the Niners are going to want to run the football, run it down your throats with now Trey Sermon, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr., and now Trey Lance. It's just the dual threat of either running back gets it or now your quarterback can take off. And getting physical is kind of the theme here. And I kind of like that, and I understand that. You want to come up with a plan as a GM, as an organization, of how to attack the draft. And I think the Niners didn't stray away from their plan. I think their plan was to get guys who were physical and guys that kind of fit the mold with now Trey Lance. So I kind of dig this pick, one of my favorite picks in the draft for sure. And I'm excited to see what Trey Sermon can bring to this Kyle Shanahan offense. So that was in round 3. Now there was 2 selections for the Niners in round 3, Trey Sermon. And then we move on to cornerback from Michigan, Ambry Thomas. Now, Ambry, he's one of those guys. I feel like this was the Niners' first reach in terms of hoping that a guy pans out. And what I mean by that is I think Ambry Thomas has all the physical attributes to be successful in this league, but he just has to put the pieces together. He just has to get a feel for the game and his technique. 6 foot, he's 6 foot tall, 190 pounds. Again, he's versatile. If you see a lot of his highlights, he's kick return, punt return. I've even seen him taking some snaps on offense. So a kid that's really talented, but just needs to put the pieces all together. And Michigan, for, at least for the Harbaugh career right now, has struggled defensively. So hoping that maybe a new system, new coaches can kind of develop him. In Ambry Thomas, I think this was the first, okay, was this your actual selection, or did your guys actually fall and you missed out? Because when you look at the draft, when you look at the later round, Trey Sermon was selected 88th. And then we had another pick. When was it? Yeah, 102. So he was 102nd pick in the 2021 NFL draft. But look at the top 2, the 2 picks prior to Thomas was, so the Titans at 100 selected Elijah Molden from Washington. That was another corner that was selected. And then at 101, the Detroit Lions selected one of my favorite guys coming out, Afatu Melifonwu from Syracuse. So I was like, oh, I hope he falls to them. I hope he falls to them. And when they made that selection, I'm like, now I'm thinking, like, what do the Niners do here? They went corner, they went Ambry Thomas, but I'm thinking, did the Niners miss out and selected maybe their second to third guy on their draft board that they wanted in this round? Who knows? We'll never know. They're always going to say Ambry Thomas was our guy, that we were targeting him. Of course, that's the right thing to say during the situation. But my mind has me thinking Melifonwu would have fit this system perfectly. He's like a physical dude. Let me pull up his. I really loved his game. He has sort of like a it would have fit the mold of what they were trying to do, like being physical at the line of scrimmage. 6'2". So, talking about the length of corners, what the Niners like, kind of like in Seattle, he fit that mold. And he's 6'2", 200 pounds, 205 pounds. So I feel like the Niners were targeting him. Detroit ended up selecting him a pick before. So we ended up getting Ambry Thomas. Again, Ambry really has all the physical attributes. If you look at some of the weaknesses here, some hip tightness in his transitions. He does get handsy in some of his press man there, but he's one of those guys that can play both man to man and kind of zone. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out. I'm still 50-50 on it. I don't know what the Niners are going to do with him. I don't think he's an absolute starter off the gate. I think there's someone that you have to develop. It's a wait and see for me. Okay. Now let's talk about the next selection. Now we're moving on to the 5th round. So if we didn't know by now, the Niners wanted physicality. And they're like, okay, we have Justin School, who's a little bit on the lighter side. We have Sean Coleman. We don't know what he's going to bring. He kind of opted out last year. So do we need another swing tackle is the mentality here. And given the current state of what they're trying to do, you want guys who can, if something happens, they could come in and fill in really quickly. And I think this is why the 49ers went with Jalen Moore from Western Michigan. Again, another length is key at tackle, 6'4", 311 pounds. He's physical, powerful, but again, he can move for his size. I know John Lynch said this in a press conference. He was like, I know a lot of people think that Kyle Shanahan wants a smaller O-line so they can move, so they can be able to move, pull, and he says, if you can get both size and ability to move, that's the home run type of call. We're seeing that with Aaron Banks, and now we're seeing that again here with Jalen Moore. Just physical at the line of scrimmage, great in run block, just a depth move at the position. Again, you want to bring reinforcements. You don't want to have no ifs and buts at offensive line. I understand it, and I love it. Just being physical. Any guy you bring in is going to bring that physicality, bring that mindset. And so I kind of dig this pick again. Not the sexy pick. Again, people were looking for wide receiver at this spot. Not the sexy pick, but a pick that is going to benefit you long term, especially with a rookie quarterback. I can't, stress that enough. This is an important, like this swing tackle role is important in case injuries happen. I understand it. And so to me, it was a no-brainer to bring him in, especially for competition wise. And I think Jalen Moore is one of those guys that does make the team. He's going to come in to compete with Justin School and Sean Coleman. But if I had to guess, he makes the team. Then we look at another DB they took, Diamador Lenore, DB out of Oregon. I understand the pick, trying to bring in another corner, but still have yet to see like what he can really bring. I think he's more of a nickel corner, if anything. I doubt is someone you play outside unless he's like super active and just super like handsy at the line of scrimmage, which he can be, but he's on the shorter size. He's 5'10", 200 pounds. He has the body. He has the body type, but I don't know if he has the length to play outside. He's more of a slot, covering the slot type of dude. So maybe they use him to like as a backup for K1. I'm sure he'll be great in special teams, but just another guy like Ambry Thomas needs to put the pieces together, and maybe a year of development will benefit him. So I'm really looking forward to like what the DBs can bring to the Niners, because honestly, I'm not too high on them, but I'm not going to write them off either. It's a wait and see for me. And then we move on to was it the last pick of the 5th round? I really love this kid, Talanoa Hufanga. And Um, he's a safety at USC, 6 feet, 199 pounds, so basically 200 pounds. He's one of those guys that not only could play like free safety, he could be your like a strong safety slash linebacker hybrid. Sort of how I know we've seen this a lot from Tart. We've seen it from Marcel Harris, where they just play in the box and they could be literally another linebacker. And this is the type of dude that can really be special, and he has the right mindset. He's one of those like high motor type of guys, and I really love watching his tape. He's really good at tackling. His speed is questionable. I think he ran, what was it, 4.61 40 time. But to me, it's all about angles if you're playing safety. So if you get the right angle, then you should be fine. But if you're in the box, I feel like with a crowded, eight, 9 people in the box, I think he will succeed. And I think he will do great things, especially if you start him off as special teams. I'm excited to watch this guy. I really hope that he's like he could turn into a fan favorite if he makes the team. That's how much I really think of him. And he has the athletic ability. What I liked, it was like an interception he had, and then he's jumping over people. He's like hurdling, like if he's Saquon Barkley. Like, doesn't have the speed, but he has the athletic ability to play the position. Again, if you're going to be a DB in this league, you have to be athletic enough to at least cover these, let alone stay hit by them. But he's not going to be playing a lot of man anyways. Like, I wouldn't put that on him. He's more of a zone type of guy. And again, if he gets the right angles, then he's going to succeed at safety. But again, he kind of was used like a Jamal Adams at USC. Comes with the blitz. You could play him in the box. You could play him up high at free safety. So really just a hybrid type of player. Player comp, Troy Polamalu. I'm not saying that's him. But just to have a comparison, that's who he reminds me of. And I hope that he can be some like anywhere near close to that. Niners hit a home run. But I love what he brings. I love his personality, and I just can't wait to see him perform. So we have one more pick for the Niners. Yeah, Elijah Mitchell, running back. Again, pretty much tripling down on the strength, right? And at this point, what do you have, like 6 running backs on the roster? Yeah, not all of them are going to make it. So it'll be interesting to see how the 49ers approach this. Elijah Mitchell is one of those guys that are like in the bubble type of thing. And but he's kind of a dual threat, can catch off the backfield, can pick up those tough yards as well. So I wouldn't rule it out, practice squad type of player, but it really just depends on what the Niners do with the rest of the running backs. Right now they have a surplus at running back. Maybe they're adding one more running back to the roster, subtracting one more receiver. Who knows? We just don't know what the 49ers are thinking at offense right now, but we'll find out pretty soon when training camp hits later on this year. But if you look at it, all the picks, you're looking at offensive line, running back, sprinkling some DBs, right? And for that reason, I give this draft a solid A-. The reason I give it an A- and not an A or an A+, I really feel like the Niners did miss out on some great corners that could kind of plug in and start right away. Melifonwu, who went in the 3rd pick right before, what was it, Ambry Thomas? I think he was a plug-in type of starter that could have started for you this upcoming year. They missed out on that, but with some of the trades, they did get a good running back in Trey Sermon. They did get a good maybe long-term guard answer in Aaron Banks. They got some depth at tackle, Jalen Moore, and maybe the quarterback for 10 plus years to come in Trey Lance. And to me, you can't argue with that recipe. Again, this was a team that didn't have a lot of holes to begin with entering the draft. And I feel like they really made some areas who were maybe just a injury away from being like a weakness in running back and offensive line. They turned that into an automatic strength this draft. And so now we're looking at this team, run first type of team, a defense that's going to rely heavily on their defensive line to pursue the quarterback, and have some experience in the backfield. So I'm sorry, in the defensive back area. So I'm really looking forward to see. I think they're still going to make some moves before entering camp. Maybe get another. I'd say they still need a veteran corner here. Just one more. See if they can compete. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about it. And yeah. Someone asked, what do you think of the new quarterback? Well, like I touched on it earlier, I don't think there's been an agreement at quarterback within the fan base in a really, really long time. And this is the first time that Kyle Shanahan had the opportunity to pick a quarterback. Really, if you really look back, the whole Shanahan era, they were fortunate enough to trade for Jimmy, which made him competitive, at least when he was healthy. And I'm sure this decision would have came a long time ago if Jimmy had never came in. Like literally 2018 would have been a year the Niners needed a quarterback, because, you look at it, they don't trade for Jimmy, they have no quarterback. So they were able to survive at least for the first 4 years. And they were like, screw it. We're not going to be one of those teams, organizations that always like is picking middle of the road, never is getting real better, and always a quarterback away. They're like, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to move up, get our quarterback. This is a great quarterback draft class, and we're going to make our move. That's what they did. They got aggressive. Now, what people were really worried about was like, is Kyle Shanahan going to be stubborn again and pick Mac Jones? But I'm happy to say that wasn't the case. It shows the growth in Shanahan. It shows that he's ready for a challenge. It shows that he's ready to develop someone who he really puts trust into. And from all the interviews that I hear on Trey Lance, that I see on Trey Lance, he looks like a really smart dude and someone who can just, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts week 1. Like, that's how much confidence I have in a rookie right now. But it's a wait and see type of deal, because Shanahan's offense isn't that basic. Let's just say that. Okay. Let's talk about the rest of the NFC West teams real quick. Let's start with Arizona. Arizona Cardinals, as you can see, their needs were corner, wide receiver, offensive line, safety, and running back. Now, the first pick kind of surprised me for Arizona. They went with Zaven Collins out of Tulsa. I think he was maybe a little bit too high at 16 overall, but it's one of their needs, so they believe in him. But another one of those guys that really can play outside linebacker and inside linebacker. So if you look, like, for the second straight year, Arizona is selecting a hybrid type of player defensively. Isaiah Simmons went early, I think 8th overall, something like that last year. And they had trouble kind of putting him in, giving him some roles. I think there's a fine line in drafting someone like that. You have to either give them an actual position to play and learn and develop, or you just have to, really have trust on the kid that they're able to do it all. And with Arizona, they love to bring pressure. How much have we seen that as Niner fans, right? Vance Joseph really loves to bring his linebackers in. And so getting a guy like Zaven Collins makes sense for their system. So, if that was your guy all along, why risk it, right? Get the pick. Okay, that's understandable. It's not as tough to sell, but the second round pick for me, Rondale Moore, was I think one of the most head scratching picks. Dealt with injury. I feel like Rondale Moore could have been available either later in the draft, maybe third round, but really they're banking on him to be 100% and go back to his like 2019, 2018 form, which he was outstanding. But just think of him as like a bootleg Deebo Samuel. With all due respect, I mean, I don't want to knock Rondale Moore. I'm sure he'll be great, but really, I didn't understand the pick. I feel like there was some good value later in the round, and if that was their guy, they could have traded down, got more picks, and really still could have drafted Rondo more. So they're really banking on his upside. I think it's a huge swing for the Cardinals. And if you look at their rivals who also drafted wide receiver later in this round, I think they got better value. They got, you look at the Rams, they got Tutu Atwell. You look at the Seahawks, they got Dwayne Eskridge. So I think those right now are better receivers than Rondale Moore, but we'll kind of wait and see with him. I really feel like the Cardinals went for guys that need development more than anything. And if they can put those pieces together, then they'll be great assets. But where they drafted them, I felt like it was a tad too high for my liking. And let's talk about the Rams for a second. As I mentioned, let's look at their needs. They needed offensive line, corner, linebacker, defensive line, wide receiver. So, the number one rated defense last year still needs, they lost some guys in free agency, but they need to pick up some guys there. So they went wide receiver first. And at first, when I looked at this, I'm like, wow, they went wide receiver. So if you look at their roster at wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson, like how many wide receivers do you need? And so I'm under the belief that the Rams just said, we're picking the best player available at the position need, right? So they've already invested so much money and draft capital in wide receiver, but I feel like Tutu Atwell at 57 overall is a solid move. I really love this kid, and I'm kind of jealous that they got him. Tutu is a really quick receiver. I think they got him at great value. One of those guys that you play in the slot. He's going to bring the speed to the offense. So again, this is one of the guys that I would have loved with the San Francisco 49ers, something they truly need: speed to take the top off the defense. So he's a dynamic player. Reminds me a lot of Tyler Lockett from the Seahawks. So maybe they found their Tyler Lockett. I really do think that even though the Rams don't necessarily need a wide receiver, they really did get a good one in Tutu Atwell. So I really can't be mad at that too much, though they still have other needs, which I guess they hope that they've addressed, but we'll see. So Tutu, I think, was a solid pick, and I think the Cardinals actually should have drafted him. Then you have Ernest Jones. Now, Ernest Jones, not really I really didn't understand the pick in the third round. He had a lot of trouble in coverage. Looked lost sometimes in coverage, to be honest with you. So I don't know how impactful Ernest Jones is going to be. And if you look back at the draft, Ernest Jones, actually, let me put up the third round here. So he got drafted right behind Ambry Thomas from the Niners. But if you really look at how the draft went, They could have drafted Baron Browning, linebacker from Ohio State. He went to Denver to end the third round at 105. Or they could have gotten Jabril Cox from LSU. He was still on the board. He actually fell to the fourth round to the Cowboys. So those are, I think, players with higher upside. Ernest Jones to me was kind of a more of a safe pick than anything, but I really feel like Jabril Cox or Baron Browning had a higher upside, and I feel like they should have drafted them at this spot. But they ended up going with Ernest Jones. We'll see how that turned out for them. And then let's look at the Seahawks, who had a very sad draft. They had 3 picks. Seattle had 3 picks, guys. 3 picks. That's it. 3 picks. And they need corner, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, and wide receiver. Again, all these NFC West teams are turning a strength into a higher strength. The rest of the NFC West, we talk about the Niners just drafting running backs. The rest of the NFC West is like, we're getting receivers. So it's going to be interesting how that pans out here. They're getting nothing but receivers. You see Dwayne Eskridge. I think this is a really good pick. Again, it's one of those picks where, like, do you really need a wide receiver this high right now? But, with the whole Russell Wilson threatening to be unhappy and wanting to leave, I can see how you would want to give him more weapons, I guess. But I think the bigger question mark with them is always offensive line. And I would have thought that they would have addressed that first. But they ended up going wide receiver. Again, he's still a solid pick. I really love what he brings. He's really quick, kind of like Tutu Atwell. I think that the comparisons between the two, Dwayne Eskridge and Tutu Atwell, is going to be fun to see how their careers either takes off or not. I think those two will be compared between the two teams for a while. So it'll be fun to see which one, I guess, let's just say it'll be fun to see if the Rams made the correct selection, choosing Tutu over Dwayne Eskridge. But still a solid pick, but they still have a lot of needs like linebacker, which I'm not sure that they ended up addressing here. Maybe they're still hoping that I'm blanking on his name. Who's that linebacker? He's a free agent. KJ Wright. There we go. KJ Wright. I'm pretty sure they're hoping that KJ Wright is gonna resign. That's still to be determined. But I can't really be mad at the Seahawks draft. I think they did a good job for what they had, though they have to blame themselves to like the reason why they only have 3 picks is because they made a terrible trade for Jamal Adams. But for what the amount of picks they had, I think they did a solid job. I really do. I'm not going to hate on it, even though I'm a Niner fan. Trey Brown, I think, was a solid pick in round 4. A scrappy player, small DB, 5'9". I mean, he could play it outside, but he's physical at the line of scrimmage. Again, he's really fast, someone you can play outside and at nickel. High energy player. This pick just screams Seattle Seahawks. High energy player. They always go for those type of guys. Niners go for those tough, physical guys, and Seattle, you can bank on them to get those high energy type of players. So Trey Brown to me plays like a Seattle Seahawk, and I think it was a solid pick for them. But yeah, that's kind of it. I think, of course, I may be a little biased, but I think the Niners had the better draft. I think they actually got better this draft along with Seattle. I think they've gotten a couple of pieces there, but still they still have tons of holes. So we don't know what's going to happen. Followed by the Rams. I think they got a solid wide receiver. We'll see what the linebacker brings. I'm still unclear on that, but wide receiver wise, they're pretty solid right now with Matthew Stafford. That offense may be a little bit of explosiveness shown there. Still question marks at what is it? Defensive line. What else do they bring outside of Aaron Donald? And linebacker is really so the team that was ranked number 1 on defense has some question marks now on defense. And then the Cardinals. I don't really think the Cardinals got any better, guys. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I look at the Cardinals team. I think they're still like middle of the road, 500. I may be wrong. Again, this is just my assessment, but out of all the teams, I think the Cardinals are the only ones that I feel did not get any better. But anyways, folks, I'm going to wrap up this live stream. I appreciate everyone joining in. And as always, we'll see you on the next one, folks. Peace. Feeling better, by the way. Feeling a lot better.